Members of Congress not being subject to the same rules for health care, et cetera, that the rest of us are. What do you feel about that?
I think it's ridiculous. I really.
Is there something, practically speaking, is there anything that could be done about that?
If we're going to pass any kind of health care reform, I have a plan for health care reform, and it's all about getting the government out of the business, not giving the government more into the business. So if you take that approach, I think whatever plan they have now, they could probably stay with. They do pay a little for the for the coverage that they have now. Obviously, it's pretty subsidized, I'm sure, but they do pay a little for their plan. I think they're on the same, supposedly they're on the same plan as other federal employees. But I think the government needs to get out of that business. Over time, I think we need to move to a system where health care coverage is an individual-owned item instead of a company-owned item, to where we get out of the hands of companies and into the hand of individuals. They have their own health care coverage. I think we need to make it to where people can buy health care coverage by gathering together into whatever groups they would like, whether it be your church group or community group or people in your family or however you want to do it. I think you ought to be able to gather together and buy health insurance, and we ought to get it out of the hands of employers. That in and of itself solves so many problems that are associated with health care, mainly pre-existing conditions, and you don't want to switch from one job to another because you'll change coverage or lose this or lose that. If you always have your own coverage through whatever group you've bought it through, or bought it individually, and you've bought whatever kind of coverage you want through that process, then you have much better outcomes for me as an individual, and a much more portable system. And the government's out of the business. Take away the restrictions on interstate commerce. Get tort reform in there that we all know works because it's worked so well here in Texas. If we can do that, again, getting the government out of the way is, I think, a much more effective answer than the monstrosity that they've tried to pass in the past couple of years. I'm certainly all for Congress being held to, whether it's health care or retirement or anything else, Congress should certainly be under the same set of rules that apply to us as just regular citizens. Retirement is another thing that's been kind of brought up lately. Oh, Mike, if you go there, boom, you're set for life. Now, one, I've done a little research, and that's not the case. But two, I don't think congressmen should get retirement. I think congressmen make pretty good money. It's pretty good money to me. At least it's $170,000 a year. That's a lot of money. There's no reason why Congress can't have their own private retirement accounts and they fund them privately. There's no reason that if you serve there a long time, all of a sudden you should be entitled to some sort of pension. No, very few, if anybody I know of in America, gets a pension like that anymore. We need to get away from it for Congress too. That'd be a nice. I would propose that. In my first term, it's even if you have to, people that have already vested or whatever, yeah, maybe we let them stay in it. But new guys, no, you shouldn't be motivated to stay there longer so that you get some kind of golden parachute. That's not why you come and serve. Invest wisely.